So, you've probably heard of creatine, right? It's that supplement everyone at the gym seems to be talking about for building muscle. But lately, there's been a whole different kind of buzz around it. One that has nothing to do with lifting weights and everything to do with, well, boosting our brains. Is there any actual truth to this, or is it just marketing hype? Let's dig in and find out.
And this really brings us to the big question, the one that kind of sparked this whole explainer. It's a clever little pun. Can taking creatine actually make you more creative? It's a really catchy idea for sure. But is there any real science behind it?
All right, let's just rip the Band-Aid off right now. The short, simple, scientific answer is no. Nope, there's just no direct evidence that suggests it boosts your creativity or makes you a better artist.
But hold on, don't go anywhere. Because while it might not turn you into the next Picasso, the real science of what creatine actually does for your brain is frankly way more fascinating and a lot more useful. It's a story about energy, stress, and mental resilience.
So how does this all work? To get it, we've got to start with the basics. The best way to think about creatine is like a backup battery or a power pack for your brain cells. It's all about having energy ready to go on demand.
See, your brain is a massive energy hog. Its main fuel source is a molecule called ATP. And when you're thinking really hard, solving a tough problem, studying, or you're just under a lot of stress, your brain burns through that ATP like crazy. Creatine's whole job is to jump in and rapidly recycle that spent energy, getting it ready to be used again almost instantly.
The process itself is actually pretty simple. You can think of it in just 3 steps. First, your brain uses its fuel, ATP. Once it's used, it becomes like a drained battery called ADP. That's where creatine comes in. It swoops in, donates a little energy particle, and bam, that battery is instantly recharged back into usable ATP. It's this incredibly fast recycling that helps your brain keep performing under pressure.
Okay, so that all sounds pretty great in theory, right? But what does the actual research say? Can taking a creatine supplement really give you a measurable cognitive boost? Let's take a look at the data.
First off, a little reality check. Your brain is a lot pickier than your muscles about what it lets in. So even when you supplement, you only see about a 3 to 10% increase in the actual creatine levels in your brain. It's a modest boost, not a massive flood. And that's super important for setting our expectation.
So what does that modest boost actually get you?
Well, when scientists combine all the studies together in what's called a meta-analysis, they find small, but definitely real, improvements. It seems to help most with attention, followed pretty closely by memory, and then a smaller, but still noticeable bump in how fast you can process information. The big takeaway here is that the effects are there, but they're subtle.
So who actually feels these effects the most? Well, the evidence is pretty clear. It points to specific groups whose brains are already under some kind of energy stress. We're talking about older adults, vegetarians and vegans who naturally have lower creatine levels, and, anyone dealing with that intense mental drain from not getting enough sleep or being under a ton of stress. These are the exact situations where that backup battery is needed most.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the potential upside, but to give you the full picture, we have to talk about the other side of the coin. What about safety? What about side effects?
The first thing you should know is that the scientific consensus here is overwhelmingly positive. I mean, major groups like the International Society of Sports Nutrition have stated that for healthy adults, creatine has an excellent safety profile and is one of the safest supplements you can take, even long-term. Now that amazing safety profile is for standard doses. Some people who take higher doses, over 10 grams a day, do report some side effects, but they're pretty manageable. Things like stomach upset can often be fixed by just splitting the dose. You might gain a little water weight, but that's just water, not fat, and it's temporary. To avoid any cramps, it's really important to drink some extra water. And finally, while it's totally safe for healthy kidneys, anyone with a pre-existing kidney condition should definitely steer clear.
All right, we have covered the science, we've looked at the evidence, and we've talked about safety. All of this brings us to that final, very personal question. Based on everything we've talked about, is creatine something you should actually consider for your own brain health?
So the final takeaway here seems pretty clear. If you fall into one of those specific groups, if you're an older adult, if you're a vegan, or if you're someone whose brain is just constantly under fire from high stress or not enough sleep, then the evidence suggests creatine could be a really worthwhile tool for supporting your brain's energy. On the other hand, if you're a healthy, young, well-rested person who eats meat regularly, you're probably less likely to notice a big difference. And remember where we started. It's a tool for brain energy, not a magic creativity pill.
So in the end,
While creatine won't make you more creative, it does point to a much bigger, and I think more profound idea, that managing your brain's basic energy supply could be a really powerful way to boost your cognitive resilience and performance, especially when life is demanding the most from you. And that really leaves us with one final question to think about. Is optimizing your brain's energy the real key to unlocking your potential?